Hey guys, it's Sarah. Today I'm going to be continuing my palette bingo series and I'm going to be using the Anastasia Subculture palette. I know this palette is no longer being sold, but I do know a lot of y'all still have it because I've gotten a request to do this one several times, I think. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So if you've never seen a palette bingo before, I believe this video idea was started by Emily Noel, so I'll give her credit down below as usual, but I will just be using a random number generator to pick 5 shades from this palette and try to create a look with it. It's a really fun way to try new color combos with palettes that you've had for a long time and just kind of get your creative juices flowing if you feel like you're in a makeup rut. The way I'll number these is just 1 through 7 on the top row and 8 through 14 on the bottom row. So I've got my pretty random app. First number I got is 11. So that is the shade New Wave. It's this sort of mustardy, orangey, yellow color. Next, got 12, which is the shade right after that, Untamed. I love this color. It's a deep forest green. Got the number 5, and that is another matte shade, the shade All Star, which is this nice burgundy color. It's that. I got the number 6, which is Mercury here. It's like a grayish taupe color. And finally, I'm hoping for perhaps a lighter shade here. Got the number 2. Okay, so that is the shade Dawn, which is just that matte cream beige color. It's just ever so slightly deeper than my skin tone. So all matte, which is kind of appropriate. I feel like lately, hang on a second, I gotta adjust the lighting because the sun is going down as we speak. Cannot wait for daylight savings this weekend. Actually, when this video is up, daylight savings has already happened. Okay, so sometimes I will pull in other shades that aren't in this group of 5, but I think just to challenge myself even more, I want to try to only use these 5. I think I'm going to start by laying Dawn, which is that beige color, all over my lid and up into my crease. I'm going to use this Real Techniques base shadow brush. It's kind of a fluffy yet flat brush. It's good for well, it's good for a lot of things, honestly. I've already primed my eyelids, by the way. Just packing that all over my lid and then bringing it up. This shade actually was in my eyeshadow roulette series in February, and I I thought I was going to hit pan on it and I didn't, but I feel like I'm almost there. Maybe I'll hit pan in this video, who knows. Next, I am gonna go in with New Wave, which is just like a slightly deeper and warmer version of that shade, I guess you could say. It's honestly not a shade that I use very often when I use this palette. I'm gonna take a sort of medium-sized crease brush. Actually, I'm just gonna use the crease brush that came with this palette. It's honestly a really good fluffy crease brush. It's a little scratchy, but it works just fine. I'm just gonna pick some of that up and then apply that really just in my crease. And, you know, blending upwards a little bit, but I'm just using this to kind of deepen up the crease a little bit. I was hoping we'd get at least one shimmer shade, but I think this is a good challenge for me because normally I cling to the shimmers because I feel like they're just more in my comfort zone. It's very rare that I do an all matte look, but lately I've been getting more into mattes. So we'll just see what happens. I think I now want to take Mercury, which is that taupe color. I'm gonna take that shadow on a smaller crease brush. This is the e.l.f. crease brush. I'm gonna build that up in the outer corner just a bit. I'm going kind of from like neutral to not neutral. So I'm starting out with like the more neutral colors and then I'll kind of figure out where I want to put the green and the red. Green and red are definitely kind of like complementary colors, so I don't want them to look muddy together. So that's something to keep in mind. So I've got kind of the building blocks for a pretty normal smoky eye right now. I think I want to put the red All Star. I want that to kind of almost peek through in between Dawn and Mercury. And again, I'm just going to use this flat shader brush side of the brush that came with the palette. These shades are so insanely pigmented. I'm sure you know that if you have this palette. So I am barely tapping my brush in there. but I'm kind of just sticking this in between that sort of yellowy beige and the taupe color. Honestly, I kind of want to just use my finger, like my pinky finger for this. Now I'm going back to the fluffy side of this brush and just kind of diffusing that. And I don't want any of these shadows to get lost. So I'm kind of making sure that I redefine each shade as I go. So I'm going back into Dawn now and just adding a little more of that on the lid. So I think I'm gonna keep Untamed on the lower lash line because I feel like there's enough going on my lids right now, and I don't want it to get muddy. I think that if I were to blend the green over any of those other colors, it would just look gray and muddy because the green and the red are like complementary colors. So I'm just gonna take this on a smudge brush and once again, very lightly tapping it in there. And I'm just gonna smudge that along the lower lash line. It's already looking super heavy and I barely put my brush in there. So I'm not gonna pull in any other shadows, but I am going to clean it up a little bit with just this translucent face powder, the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Finishing Powder. Just gonna use that to clean up the brow bone area and also this area right here. I think this look needs some black winged liner though. I'm gonna use my Jordana Cat Eye liner here. On the lips, I want to use my Project Pan lipstick. I'm on a roll with this guy. This is the Bite Lip Crayon in Glacé. I'm gonna do kind of a blotted lip effect here. I've been doing this a lot recently when I don't want a super dark lip, because this can look kind of dark on my skin tone. I just kind of start applying it like I normally would. And then I'll take my finger and spread it around so that it's a little bit more of a sheer layer. I also have that on my cheeks as a blush today. Okay, so I think that does it for this palette bingo. I always love playing around with this palette. It's definitely not the easiest palette to work with. It's a very unique and specific color story, but whenever I do pull this palette out, I always feel so inspired. I wish they hadn't discontinued it, but I understand why they did because it definitely is not the most well-loved eyeshadow formula that Anastasia has come out with. So I hope if you have this palette, you got some inspiration from this video, and even if you don't have this palette, maybe it inspired you to pull out an older palette from your collection and play around with it. So let me know which palette you'd like to see me do next in this series. I'll also link all my previous palette bingo videos down below if you want to binge those. They're really fun to make, so definitely plan to continue this series for all my palettes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.